Hey friends, how are you all doing today? I'm really hoping you can hear me okay because we were having technical difficulties until a few minutes ago. I'm not the techie one, but here we are, bound and determined to find a way. So this week, let's see. Let's put our intention up here because we've had a few really nice intentions here. Okay, so you can hear me in the comments, so that's good. Yeah, I don't know, when it's like 5 minutes before you're supposed to go live and it's not working, it's like, what do I do? Or then when it's like the time that you normally go live and you're still trying to figure it all out. Anyways, that's all behind us. And this week, our intention: I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. And here we are. I made space, and here's this goodness and abundance that is Tuesday nights. Even though it was really difficult to get here. Let me tell you what, it was difficult getting to this moment. So we've had a couple nice intentions the last couple weeks here. Last week, I allow myself wholesome enjoyment, and then before that, a practice of gratitude allows me to transform and configure my life. So we've had these really nice Venusian flavored intentions the last few weeks here. So this week is not much different. Couple aspects that we're looking at specifically. So Venus has ingressed into the sign of Scorpio. Venus, as she moves into Scorpio, she comes right directly into a trine with Saturn. Saturn is sitting at 1 degree of Pisces. So once she crosses that line into Scorpio, 0 degrees, 1 degree, which is where she's at right now. So today is the exact aspect of that. Excuse me. So Venus moving into Scorpio, Venus trining Saturn, and Mercury trining Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. So Mercury in Capricorn trining Jupiter in the sign of Taurus. Also, looking a little bit, we talked last week, if you were here last week, about Venus and Pluto. We talked about Venus squaring Pluto and like that drive to bring Venusian things, right? That like push and pull to bring things forward. So we talked about finding wholesome enjoyment. Last week we talked about like bringing things back. What type of things have you kind of lost from yourself or like have kind of went to the wayside that bring you enjoyment? What kind of Venusian things? That energy is starting to fade out now, but I did want to just mention it because it is like last week and this week, and it plays into the intentions a little bit bothly with this like transformation and this like evolution of Venusian things that we have going on here. So this week I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. Goodness, Venus, abundance, also Venus, and Jupiter too. So as Venus moves into the sign of Scorpio, let's just talk about that for just a moment. So Venus in the sign of Scorpio is considered to be in her detriment. So since Venus is in rulership in Taurus across the zodiac in Scorpio, that puts her in a, let's just say, like a not very Venusian type place. It's not a lot like Taurus when you're in Scorpio. It's kind of like that. So Venus in Scorpio, so Venus stepping, basically like she's stepping into the underworld here. So Venus goes into Scorpio and she steps into this deeper layer of the subconscious and of the psyche. So these Venusian things, the love and the desire, the things that bring us joy and fulfillment, the things that bring us balance and harmony, all of these wonderful and good things of our lives, we start to see them, but maybe through a little bit different lens, maybe through a little bit deeper lens, or maybe a little bit, sometimes it can be a little bit more like darker or shadowy type of lens. So it can be that, maybe where before we were seeing like the real rosy side of something, now we're seeing both sides. We're seeing the good rosy side, but we're also kind of seeing this this deeper layer to things a little bit. Venus in the sign of Scorpio, especially coming off of this square to Pluto, and then going right into the sign of Scorpio, it really feels like Venus is trying to dig deep right now and dig deep into the trenches of wherever she is showing up for you in your own life right now. So I feel like Venus and Scorpio, being that, you know, Venus likes, in a way, think of Taurus, think of Libra. Venus likes things to be light and playful and, you know, enjoyment and movable. And then Scorpio, ruled by Mars, is a bit more serious and looks deeper at all of the different layers. Takes that like subconscious material, that stuff that we like push deep down, and it starts to kind of bring it up a little bit. So if you see things start to kind of come up over the next month or so, that's Venus and Scorpio here. Things kind of coming up from the trenches, or you know, up, like bubbling up from the earth type of thing. So I feel like Venus being in Scorpio could use this reminder of this intention kind of in its own right. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. Scorpio is, there's always a positive and negative to everything, right? I'm a Scorpio rising, so I'm not trying to just dog on Scorpio or anything like that. But, you know, there's this part of Scorpio that that holds on and holds deeply, and remembers too. Scorpio is not a sign that forgets. So it's very easy for, I feel like sometimes for Scorpio placements, and with Venus, our light, airy love planet being in the sign of Scorpio, there's always this possibility of this deep intensity, and like this fixation on this deep intensity. So sometimes we have to remind ourselves to kind of come up from the trenches a little bit. So making space for goodness and abundance in our lives, I think that's just a good reminder for Venus and Scorpio to begin with here. So as Venus comes into the sign of Scorpio, she makes that trine with Saturn right away. And, you know, I feel like this is kind of like setting the stage here for our intention, setting the stage or the framework for the goodness and abundance, okay? So you have Saturn, the planet of structures and framework, sometimes limitation, but it's that serious planet, right? It has these tones of things that need to be taken care of, things that need to be done. So making space. Okay, where can you make space? What is the, where can you set the stage to bring in more goodness and more abundance? And what kind of frameworks do you need to set up for that? It's a trine, so these two planets are working together. It's a water trine, so working within the emotional realm and within the like collective energies type realm here. But very, very, very deeply rooted here. So Venus coming into this trine with Saturn, you know, it kind of, in a way too, feels like this romantic idealism. So it's, Saturn wants, I feel like Saturn is the planet that wants things to be just so, right? It's in the sign of Pisces right now. So the things that it's making just so are Piscean type things. So creativity, romance, art, collective union, reflection, recollection, reviewing things, and kind of that that deep collective Piscean energy that we have around us. So Venus, so you have Saturn in Pisces, which is bringing this serious tone to the watery sign of Pisces. And then you have Venus, which is normally a light, airy planet, is in a heavier sign. Does that make sense? So Venus is kind of a light and bubbly planet in its very own right. And it's in Scorpio, it's in a heavy place. Pisces, although it's not necessarily like light and airy and bubbly and like happy-go-lucky as Venus might want to be, it's a more of an uplifting and more of a feminine type place, more of a intuitive and collective place of awareness. It's a place of awareness. That's a good word to use. So it feels like there's this tension, there's this like little bit of tensions of opposites, and they're coming together with the trine. So you have Venus, the light, let's say, for lack of a better term, let's say the light planet in the heavy sign, and then you have the heavy planet, Saturn, in maybe the lighter sign, Pisces. So it feels like this real balancing of tension and like opposites coming together within different ways to like meld the two together. So you have on both ends of the signs, you have both ends of this trine, you have a heaviness and a lightness coming together, okay? And then you're bringing those two together at the same time. Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm not explaining this super well. But it's this idealism that you get from marrying the so-called heavy and the so-called light. You bring the two of them together on either end, and then you marry the two of those together. So setting the framework and setting the boundaries and setting the seriousness to have the goodness and abundance brought forward and the lovely things brought forward in our life. Mercury trining Jupiter. So this is a good trine too for the mental realm and the processes that it may take to get to that goodness and abundance that we want to come towards us. So Mercury, our mind, our thoughts, our perceptions. Remember that Mercury deals with the tools and the resources that come our way as well. And it's coming into a trine. Remember that trines are of the nature of Jupiter with Jupiter. So it's this expansion of the mind, okay? It's this abundance of the mind. It's this fastening and quickening of the mind in a way, like an enlightenment. So thoughts, feelings of enlightenment, those, sometimes we call them downloads these days. It's that information that kind of just comes to your head, can come to you quickly through Mercury and Jupiter. Synchronistic mental processes, or kind of just like a knowing, intuition, gut feelings, those type of things. Any type of just knowing of things, okay? That is Mercury and Jupiter coming together here. So the tools and the resources are provided for us to be able to come up with the framework for these Venusian things that we're trying to bring forward. So Mercury trining Jupiter is bringing forward those resources, bringing forward the mental capacity to be able to move forward and do what we want to, what it is that we're trying to do, where we're trying to bring goodness and where we're trying to bring abundance in our life. And then Venus trining Saturn allows us to set up the structures and the framework for it. Does that make a little bit more sense? Hopefully it does. Also, as these aspects are happening and as this week is going on, Venus is going to work her way into an opposition with Jupiter. So there's this big Venus-Jupiter thing going on here. And really the intention could be boiled down to Venus and Jupiter. Making space, Jupiter, for goodness and abundance. Venus, Jupiter again. So next week, we have a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius that we'll be talking about. Actually, it's on Tuesday. I think it goes exact like an hour and 15 minutes before our session next week. So make sure you're here next week. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great energy. Next week, we have a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius, which is Jupiter's sign. So I feel like there's a lot of possibility within that new moon, and we're kind of like in the pre-stages for that, and we're working into that right now. You know, making space for goodness and abundance, as we're coming into moving towards from the full moon to the new moon, the moon is losing its light, losing its illumination from the sun. So we're seeing less and less of the moon. So there's this connotation this week of letting go and releasing things as the moon is starting to darken, as we're losing light within the lunar phase here. So as things are kind of drifting away and shifting away, where can you make space? What needs to kind of drift away or fall away a little bit in order for the goodness and abundance that you want to bring forward with this new moon in the sign of Sagittarius? Remember, Jupiter's sign. So there's this really, really great Venus-Jupiter energy going on. The opposition between Venus and Jupiter, it's the opposition between the two benefics, okay? Oppositions can go either way. Oppositions it's kind of like magnets. If you turn them the right way, they're gonna pull together and they're gonna stick together so hard that you have to pull them apart. But if you just flip it just one way, you just flip one little angle, then all of a sudden the two magnets are repelling each other. So remember, you always have that like polarization and that push and pull between an opposition. So the pull, right, is going to be an abundance of goodness. The push is going to be could possibly be, I don't want to say what's going to be because I don't pigeonhole it like that. But the push is the resistance. So what is holding you back from that goodness and from that abundance? Where are those blockages? Where does space need to be made in order to flip that magnet around and have those two planets not repel against each other, but to come together and sit together? I think this is a great time to start to prepare for that new moon that we have coming up next week, for the intentions that you want to set for that. I think it's interesting to note the chain between, like the chain of rulership between Venus and Jupiter right now. So we mentioned that Venus is in Scorpio and Mars' sign. So Venus is, let's say Venus is hosted by the planet Mars right now, okay? Where is Mars at? Mars is in Sagittarius, which is in Jupiter's sign. Whereas Jupiter is in Taurus, which is Venus's sign. So Jupiter is directly, this long trek through Venus, Jupiter is directly impacted by Venus. And right now, Venus is indirectly impacted by Jupiter through Mars, before they come into this opposition, right before we have a new moon in the sign of Sagittarius, in Jupiter's sign. So there's this huge Jupiterian flair and flavor here right now. So bringing forward that goodness and that abundance, bringing forward that luck of Jupiter. Remember that Jupiter deals with knowledge and the philosophies that we hold, that we know and we subscribe to. Jupiter has a quality of knowledge and wisdom to it. So what information do you need to come to you? Remember, Mercury is coming into that trine with Jupiter also. So that knowledge and that information that you need to come in, Mercury is there to hand it over to you. So lots of potential this week for like preparing to start something, preparing to create something here. It's kind of like the pre-phase to the new moon that we have here next week. So I think this is really, really great. This opposition that we have coming in between Venus and Jupiter, that's exact on Sunday, on December 10th. At the time, Jupiter is still retrograde. So it feels like this opposition has that revisiting quality to it, that retrograde quality to it. So it feels more like, instead of Venus and Jupiter just coming together and the magnets facing the right way where they're going to connect and they're going to pull towards each other and they're just going to love on each other, it feels like with Jupiter being retrograde that there's just a little hang up, or it's like a little, there's something to revisit here, there's something that we need to rework a little bit. So there might be a little effort that is required, but it's still going to be worth it if you take that effort, if you want to, if that's the way you want it to be. So this reworking of Venusian things with Jupiter retrograde in this opposition, especially where Taurus falls in your chart and where Taurian subjects fall within your own life. So Taurus is a more tangible Venus compared to like a Libran Venus, which is much more social, much more airy, and much more intellectual. Taurus, I always think of like sensory things with Taurus. So the enjoyments of all five of the senses, right? All of those physical, earthly, like physical, material things that could be a little bit heavier, bit of a motherly quality to it as well. You know, it might be a little less graceful than a Libran Venus, but that's just part of where it feels like there's that work that needs to be done, just that little like switching of that magnet around and turning it around. However, Venus in Scorpio and Jupiter in Taurus, they're fixed signs, they're solid signs. So the things that are created here within this opposition and the things that we're working towards right now, they have that possibility to be long-standing and have a lot of longevity to them as well. There is a possibility for them to be for things to be persistent, to keep coming up, things to be ingrained or to be lingering a little bit here. So if you are finding that you are seeing where you need to make space for goodness, abundance, blessings, the wonderful things to come into your life, you might see that message just kind of like keep popping back up at yourself a little bit. Does that make sense? I feel like with the fixed signs, there's just that repetition that comes back. So it kind of like, it's not the type of thing that if you don't take care of it, it's just gonna kind of fly away. I think we're being called to dig deeper with Venus and Scorpio and see where we need to make space. Does that mean that something needs to be changed? Does that mean that something needs to be removed? Does it mean that we need to just move something from one area to the other? I don't know. It's your life, your path, not mine. It's different for each of us. So yeah, looking at this week, it feels like we're being called to make space for Venus and Jupiter in our lives. Jupiter has a big presence. Jupiter requires lots of space. And why not make space for Venusian things? Why not make space for more Venus in our lives? Because I feel like we could all use more Venus in our lives, right? To a certain extent. Venus and Jupiter, if in the opposition, if they start to come together, there can be a bit of overindulgence. There can be enjoying too much and having too much Venus. That's always a possibility, so we always have to be mindful of those type of things. But you know, I think for the most part, most of us can have room for more goodness somewhere within our lives. Maybe the things that are already really good, maybe you don't need to focus on that part, because then maybe you'll go into that like overabundance or overindulgence type part. But yeah, lots of cool energy here for it's like creation energy. It's like pre-creation energy is what it feels like. And you know, we've had some really, really, really great times within the last year, but through the summer, through the fall, there's been some heavy transits. Don't necessarily need to rehash any of that because we've talked about it so much. So I think it's very nice that we've been that the intentions we've had the last couple weeks have been maybe a little on the brighter side. I try to never make our intentions to be like negative or, you know, downer type phrases or anything like that. But some of them have been a little bit heavier within the last like 6 months or so. So yeah, I like these ones that we have here. So that's what I have behind the intention here. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. So I'll turn that off. We have our intentional candle here. I've told you guys before that these are these white sage candles that I've been using. I've been using these for quite some time. I ordered them off of Etsy. And I've mentioned this shop before, the Stone Sanctuary shop on Etsy. I don't buy my small, what do you call these, like chime candles? I think that's what they call them these days. I don't buy these small candles from anybody else anymore. They all have these beautiful, wonderful essential oils in them. So this has a white sage oil. I ordered a whole bunch of them this time, you guys. So I have white sage candles. I have lavender oil candles. I have orange, I have myrrh, and I have opium. I have all these wonderful, wonderful candles. And if any of you are ever looking for some lovely spell candles or intentional candles of some kind, definitely take a look at the Stone Sanctuary shop on Etsy. If you guys have any suggestions of small business owners to suggest, always send them my way too, because I'm always up for that. So I did not think that these candles were going to come in time for our meditation, but they did. They came in the mail yesterday, and they were supposed to come by the end of the day today. And since I'm a 0-degree Scorpio rising, yesterday Venus was sitting right on my ascendant, so I was like, oh, thank you, Venus on my ascendant, for bringing me a little good luck and bringing my candles that I needed. So I just want to give another shout out to that shop, because we use her candles every week and they are absolutely wonderful. The packaging says a burn time of 2 hours, but they burn longer than that, because you and I are here for a good hour. I mean, I guess the candle's not burning for, it's burning for a good half hour here, and it burns for quite some time after our meditation is done. So it's at least 2 hours. It might be a little bit longer than that even. So that's that. That's my non-affiliate thing, whatever. I don't know. I don't have any connections with this person. I just really, really love her candles, and I want to share that with all of you guys. So as we get ready to start our meditation here this week, let's think of our intention one more time. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. We're going to light our intentional candle, and as we do so, I invite you to say the intention either out loud or in your own head, whatever works well for you. I opt to speak it out loud, so I hear it in my own voice. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. So we light our intentional candle, we see the flame ignite, and we watch it grow. And as the flame grows, so does our intention. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. Let's start our meditation today by making some space for the energy level that we hold at this very moment. Let's take a moment to make some space for our physical body and this physical vessel that you are inhabiting for this lifetime. This body of yours, this physical, material part of you is mortal and will die at some point. It will cease to work, functions will slow down, and eventually eventually the heart stops. You may be a long ways away from that. But at some point, this physical body and the purpose that it serves will end. However, within this physical body is the eternal part of you. Within your soul, within this eternal part of you, is your connection to God, your connection to Source, your connection to the divine energy that is around every one of us. In your soul, this eternal part of you will live on forever, just as it always has. Leave the physical body and make space for the next chapter of your soul's journey, the next lesson, the next experience. But for now, your soul resides within this physical body, this material body that works as a vessel that gives your soul shape and form and functionality. It takes your eternal soul, that part of you that is connected to all that is, that little piece of the God Source that is within you and I and each and every one of us. Holding it and protecting it, carrying us through this life, through the experiences that your soul, that the eternal part of you decided to experience in this life. Without this physical body, the human experience would not be possible. Without this body, our soul could not experience the joys and the sadness, the triumphs and the hardships that our soul so badly desires to experience and feel. And that makes this body sacred. That makes this physical, material vessel that you are occupying loved and cherished and protected. So in starting our meditation and starting our journey inward, let's start at that superficial level of our material body, this physical vessel that the eternal you is occupying. What did your body help you accomplish today? Everything that you did. Even your thoughts, even the non-physical parts, they all occur right up here within your brain, another part of this physical body. Start by being kind and loving towards our body. Let's start by thanking your body for bringing you through the day today. Even if there's difficulties, even if there's struggles. Then any places of discomfort within your body, anywhere that you feel yourself holding tension or stress, anywhere that your body is subconsciously hanging on to something that no longer serves, or the places where your body has been wounded, perhaps misused, perhaps abused by yourself or by others. The difficult parts of the day, we care for that part too. We show love and appreciation for everything that this body holds us through. Taking time to make space for all the parts of you. Showing your body, your soul, and your mind love. Showing yourself grace. Having patience with yourself. These are all things that will bring goodness and abundance to your life and to your journey. I'd like you to consider the areas of your life where you'd like to make space for more goodness and abundance. What area in your life feels like it's lacking at the moment? If you know where Taurus falls within your chart, what house does Taurus fall in? Because not only is Jupiter there, bringing abundance and blessings, prosperity and knowledge, but so is Uranus. Telling us to step forward, move forward, take that action that you have been putting off. Uranus, courage and bravery to do what needs to be done. Are you ready to start a revolution? Where do you need a revolution of goodness and abundance within your own life? Venus in the sign of Scorpio tells us to dig a little deeper to find that answer. We're not looking for superficial information. We're digging deep down, looking to see where space can be created. In order to create space within that area of your life, what needs to change? You know the answer within your deep heart. Doesn't mean it's easy. If it's scorpionic, chances are it's not just easy. There's depth. There's layers. There's a deep emotional connection and a protection of our emotions. A desire to heal and move forward. Is there something that needs to be rearranged in order to bring more abundance and goodness into your life? What structures need attention? As Venus trines Saturn, sitting almost exact as we meet here together live. What structures are you going to instill to bring balance and harmony? What are you going to stick to? What routines bring you love, bring you joy? What part of your day brings you joy and balance? Is there cleaning up that needs to happen? Is there something that Saturn needs to say no to in order to bring Venus in closer to this area of your life? Saturn protecting Venus, like a watchful older sibling, watching over the younger one from a distance, ready to swoop in at any moment. Meanwhile, Mercury in the sign of Capricorn, and Saturn's sign is trining Jupiter. What knowledge and information, what resources need to come your way? Call them towards you. Ask Jupiter for abundance and blessings. And then finally, Venus in Scorpio comes into opposition with Jupiter in Taurus. That space you're making, the things that you're shifting through and shuffling, that hard work of Venus and Scorpio is acknowledged by the sign of Jupiter in Venus's sign of Taurus. I make space for goodness and abundance in my life. I rearrange my energy. I rearrange my routine, my schedule. I shift when needed to keep me on my highest path and bringing forward my highest good. I examine what serves me well and what should be released. I find myself in a state of peace, tranquility, and harmony. And I claim more abundance and even more goodness coming into my life. this week, as we come towards the end of our meditation, and we think about all of this abundance and all of this goodness that's going to be coming our way, the space that we're making for it, the room that we're making. I invite you to raise your arms up overhead, towards the sky, towards the planets overhead. And I invite you to invite the blessings and the goodness and the abundance into your life, into your heart, and into your soul, into your path. So as we close, my hands up overhead, reaching towards the sky, reaching towards the universe that is ever supporting us. I call forth the goodness and the abundance and the blessings. I call forward harmony and love and peace. I call for tranquility of my heart that can be passed on from my energy field out into the ethers. And that positive energy and that love and peace and tranquility may find another soul on this planet that needs some of that energy as well. I make space for goodness and abundance. Thank you, all of you, for being here. So this week, what kind of just came to me as we were going through our meditation was like a spring cleaning of our energy, making space, okay? So reorganizing, rearranging, and reworking, seeing what needs to be boxed up and what needs to be put away, seeing what serves us well and what we use and what we don't use. When was the last time you used this last thing or this last thought or idea or action? When was it last beneficial to you? What things can you do without? What habits can you start to kind of get rid of? Those type of things. Next week, we'll be talking about the new moon in Sagittarius in Jupiter's sign. So as the moon is losing light and is darkening, as we come towards the weekend and early into next week, as we come into that balsamic moon, that dark moon, which is a place of release and a place of healing, what can you make room for a new cycle that is starting next week? It feels like we're really set up well to bring some things forward. We have trines here, people. We have trines between Scorpio and Pisces. We have trines between Capricorn and Taurus. Trines are of the nature of Jupiter. They're expansive, they are unifying, and they are pulling things together, okay? So that's what we have going on this week, and it really is a beautiful energy. It could be a little bit stressful or difficult. Like I said, Mercury and Jupiter could kind of like keep putting things in your face, you know, like little tidbits of information, and if those little tidbits are telling you that something needs to go and you're not letting it go, it might keep coming back. Those little tidbits of information could also be little bits of enlightenment or just little know-hows of the thing that you've been trying to fix. I think of like the handyman at a place of employment or something who just knows what needs to be done. You might start to kind of feel that way, and sometimes with Mercury and Jupiter, it can almost feel like the universe is working through you, through your mind, and through your actions. Remember, Mercury, dealing with resources and tools, our hands. These right here, these are our tools that we use all the time. Mercury rules Gemini, Gemini rules the hands. So there's a little connection there with it. So all of those tools and all of those resources. Thank you, all of you that are here tonight. I'm taking a peek at the comments here really quick. Happy Tuesday, more Scorpio risings along with me, and I'm glad you guys are understanding what I'm saying, and I'm glad you guys are here. Thank you for being here, because I wouldn't be sharing this if you weren't here. And I am also looking forward to the new moon meditation next week. Look for a new intention next Sunday on the social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube page, meditativeastrology.com, and I look forward to seeing you all next week. As always, feel free to reach out, and if you're looking for, if you need some really, really cool candles, Stone Sanctuary shop on Instagram, or not Instagram, maybe on Instagram also, but on Etsy. They're really, really great, and they burn really well, and I'm super thankful to have the whole bunch that I have. So thank you, all of you, and hey, I can see you on YouTube. I'm sorry, so on YouTube, NGC, I'm sorry, I would like to know what your first name is. Maybe I do know who you are, but I just don't know I can see your comments. I just don't always, I'm not always super good about bouncing back and forth between what I'm saying and the comments, so I have to kind of balance both of them. But I appreciate those of you that are here every single week, those of you that come when you're able to, and those of you that watch the replays, and those of you that are supportive within spirit when you are not able to be here. All the way around. It's really, really great. I've mentioned this the last couple weeks. Those of you that have taken the time to pray for my mom and send her some love and some good intentions, she can use all the love. She can use all the love that she can get. She has to have surgery, but she has to wait to have surgery. And it's just not, you know, it's the holiday season, and it's just not the time of year for somebody to struggle with their health and with their own physical body more than they normally already do. So thank you for those of you that are still sending prayers to my mom, Cindy. I don't know, in a few weeks I might do another little prayer circle for her, because I felt like that really, really helped, and she really, really appreciated that so very much. But yeah, so those of you that are sending prayers of love to my mom, I really, really appreciate it, because she is struggling, and it's so difficult to see the people you love within pain and not being able to help them, even when you know that that's the path that they chose, right? I talk on here a lot about just knowing our path and being on our path and things like that, and like just, you know, we're where we're supposed to be. That doesn't mean it's always easy, and I know that. I don't have rose-colored glasses, or like, you know, I know situations are all different for everybody, so I don't ever want it to seem like it's just like that super overly the top, like toxic positivity, because sometimes things really just are shitty, and that's just the way they are. But things can be crummy and be really, really great at the same time, right? So there can be variations there. There can be some things that are really, really difficult, and some things that are really, really great. Places to make room for more abundance, and those places that are not quite so great. Make more room for the things that are great to have even more space. So I'm rambling now. Have a good night, everybody. I will see you all next week, and take a look next look Sunday for the new intention. Remember that there's always a event on Facebook if you want a reminder for our meditation circle. So if you go to Meditative Astrology Facebook page, go to the events. There's always an event that correlates with that week's meditation. And then if you're somebody that's on Facebook, on social media, you'll just get a little reminder. You'll get a notification that the event is happening, and it'll just kind of like, oh yeah, we're going to go meditate tonight. So that's that. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great week. I can't wait to see where you are making space for yourself and what you're going to create within this next lunation cycle, because yeah, you know, it's going to be our last, is it going to be a full lunation? It's our last lunation cycle of the year. So we're gonna make it a good one, okay? We're gonna go out with a bang and come in kicking with a bang for 2024. So that's it. Have a good night. Thank you, everybody. Mwah. I'm here if you need anything. As always, reach out. Okay.